You know, just over 24 hours ago, we had about 2 or 3 inches of snow out here and you couldn't see the fields at all. Now it's high 40s, almost 50, and everything's just melting away. It's pretty crazy. Comment down below where you guys lived and how much snow you got, because this winter has just been really crazy. We've been in the low to the high 50s, 60 almost for most of the winter. We've only had a couple times where we got 2 or 3 inches of snow, but other than that, it's been pretty dry and warm here in Indiana. So comment down below where you guys live and how much snow you guys got this year, because everywhere got different amounts. Not used to what we're getting now, but I don't like the snow, so I'd rather have nothing. But I was out here trying to get a video of this airplane that was flying around. He's flying pretty close to the ground. I couldn't get him fast enough. He came and gone pretty quickly, so but maybe he'll come back and I might get him. I wanted to make a video before this thing goes away because it came out super clean, really awesome. So I want to kind of go over one last video with you guys with how this thing looks. I was able to clear Friday evening. It's last final coat of clear Friday evening, and today is Monday, about 5:30 here. So it's sat for a couple days, baking, curing. So it is ready for me to do the next step before the customer comes and gets it. So I want to do one last video to show you guys everything done before I start sanding this clear coat down. It just came out really awesome, and I want to go over with you guys a couple things on it to kind of just run you through what happened and what have you, because like I said, it just came out really nice, really clean. Honestly, don't want to sand it down, but if you don't know, I was not the original painter of this van. The bodywork and the paint job was done by another shop that was kind of local here. So it is going back to that guy that did the original paint work, because there's a lot of spots around this thing, door jamb wise, and some on the outside of the van that was marked from them installing parts and nicking the paint and chipping it. So it's going back to him to get this van fully blown back apart and repair those areas and blend them out. And then he's going to do the last final coat of clear on this thing, the final round, and then he's going to do the wet sand and buffing. So this is definitely not the last time this van's going to get paint on it. Like I said, I was just clearing it because I wanted to lock everything down. That way he didn't have to worry about messing up my paint job that I did on it, all the artwork on it. So that is why we cleared this thing and flow coated it and make sure everything's nice and flat for him. Come in, make it as easy as possible for him on his end, because he's got a lot to do and the time frame that he's got to do it, because this thing is going to be rolling out to shows. I was told kind of the start of fall, which is like end of August, beginning of September here. So I'm just going to say beginning of September is the goal to have this thing fully completed. That's what the customer wants. I mean, fully completed, I'm talking about the paint job's done, wet sand and buff, the interior's back together, all the accessories. He's got all new door handles for this thing. He's got all new parts, bumpers are going on this. So they've got a lot to go, and they're also going to put lowering springs on it. So he's going to lower it, I think he said like 1.5 to 2 inches. So they still got a lot of work to go within the time frame that he wants this done. So he's got all summer to do it. That's why I was kind of rushing to get this thing back to him, because I know as a painter how much work it's going to be for him just to tear this thing back apart and fix all the issues that he has to fix, and then re-clear everything and buff it. That's 2 or 3 months worth of work just right there, kind of like what I just did time wise. So I'm going to show you guys this. This thing came out super awesome, so enjoy. So it came out so good that I don't even want to sand it. I mean, obviously there's some dirt specks and things like that need to get sanded out, and obviously he's going to do his thing on touching up and re-clearing everything, so everything's got to get sanded down anyways. But my main job that I'm focusing on here is to block down any of the artwork that's got a raised edge on it. So anything that, you know, like this right here still got a little bit of an edge. The oval from the logo has got a little bit. The blue side is pretty much flat. I don't have to worry about that. But yeah, it's just certain areas do have a little bit of a raised edge. I pretty much put one tack coat over the artwork, like really light tack coat, and then I went back through and I did 2 more coats over it. So, and they were heavy coats, they weren't light coats. And then I did a tack coat over the part of the van that I didn't clear yet, and then I put 2 more heavy coats over the entire thing. So their artwork technically has 4 coats over it. So we got a lot of blocking to do and room to do it in. So I'm not really worried about burning through. But these, like the pinstripe that I did on these, all hand done pinstripe, and they are probably the most standout line that you can see on this. Obviously, like I said, there's some dirt in it that we need to get out, but that is the goal for today, is to get everything blocked down and all flat as we can be. That way, when he does his final coat of clear, he doesn't have to worry about burying anything. He might have to worry about a little bit, like very little, but if he puts on at least, you know, 2 or 3 coats, he's going to be able to block it down because it's going to get fully blocked. The customer has spent a lot of money on this paint job and the body work done by this guy, so he's going to have a lot of blocking to do when he goes and does buffing and all that stuff. So he's got a lot he's got to worry about. So I just want to make it as easy as I possibly can on him to do that. But I'm going to be pretty much sanding all of it. All the stuff that I cleared, the panel wise, I'm going to pretty much go through and I'm going to Scotch-Brite it, you know, block everything down, and then I'm going to DA everything as flat as I can be without burning through it. That's the goal. There are some things I want to talk about real quick and kind of give you guys a tip. And this only works if you're just putting on, if it was already cleared and you're doing like a flow coat, or if you're doing more coats of clear, if you have touch-ups and whatever, and you're just putting clear over something that's got clear on it. Because I ran into this issue when I did this side again. I ended up clearing the 2 doors and this side, and then sanding it back down because we wanted to make the letters of the song stand out more. So I had to redo all that, and then I had to get this thing ready for pinstripe. So I went ahead and cleared this before I final coated everything else, and then sanded it down and did all the touch-ups and add-ons and stuff like that. And what happened was, in that time frame when I did that, for some reason, my setup here is pretty good. I've got a 7 horsepower compressor, 60 gallon, and then I've got a dryer unit, Ingersoll Rand, and then I've got filters, filtration systems. I've got fisheye eliminator filters on the ends of my guns. But there's just sometimes if I go through and I put something on really heavy, I end up getting kind of almost like fisheyes. But it's not really fisheyes, because fisheyes, if you ever had fisheye problems, you know what I'm talking about. But fisheyes, when you have that problem, it's just a ton of them in one spot, and it's usually everywhere. This was only like in one area, and it wasn't like thousands of them. It was like maybe 10 of them. So I don't know exactly where it's coming from, because it doesn't happen every time. Because like this time right here, there is none of it right here. It's just dirt. So I'm going to walk you through what I did and kind of what you should do when you do have fisheyes, because it's a thing that's hard to get rid of if you have it, whether it come from something in your line or something that's in the air around you. You'll know, because it'll react automatically. You'll fight it, and it's really hard. So I want to go through that and touch with you because it's a painter's nightmare. So what I did was, after I sanded everything down on this side and cleaned it and everything, I went through and I just Scotch-Brighted all the areas that had the issues with it. Because what happens is it creates like a crater. And the craters just, I mean, they're really tiny. Sometimes they can be big. And it's just really hard to get rid of them. So before I did the last coat of clear, what I did was I took that same clear that I was using to spray, and I got a touch-up brush, and I went through and I just kind of dabbed clear in those areas. I don't know if you guys can see that on the video, but they look like little bumps, and that's what that's from. Is because I added a little bit of clear by hand before I put the coat of clear on it. And what that does is it'll actually fill it in. So it'll fill all that crater in before you even paint. Another thing you can do is you can actually put a very light tack coat over them and let that sit for as long as you can. And then what you do after that, you can actually just bury it. As long as you got that tack coat on there or something in there that's gonna, you know, catch it kind of, you'll be fine. But it is really hard to get rid of those little spots like that are, you know, so-called fish eyes. But that is a trick that I've learned. Obviously, if you have thousands of them, it's going to be a lot harder to bury. But if you can just take your time and just go through with a, you know, kind of like a touch-up brush or, you know, a paint brush or something that's really tiny, and just use some clear and dab it in there, you can get away with it, especially when you already got clear on the substrate. Now, if you get clear and you gotta put, and it doesn't, you gotta put paint in that area, obviously you're gonna have to find another way to do it. And you can still use a touch-up brush method on it, but you're gonna have to work at it and razor blade it down and, you know, sand it back down over and over again until you get it filled, because that's the idea. You need to make it flush. And just, you know, my 2 cents, if you ever do this with the brush and try to fill those craters in, make sure your brush that you're using or whatever you're using is very, very clean. Because if you get a little bit of dirty something in that paintbrush and you go to put it on there and that clear dries, you're going to see that speck of dirt in that clear, and you'll never get rid of it unless you sand it all the way back down, and by that time you're burning through it. So you're going to have to put paint there anyways. So just make sure you're watching everything around you. Make sure everything's really clean, because it's a nightmare to chase that stuff. So, but that's an easy way to do it, is, you know, a little bit of clear that you're using, the same clear, and just touch it up a little bit, let it dry, or you can put more clear on top of it if you're putting clear down. And then you just, you know, if you can take a razor blade and it'll just, you know, sand it flat, and it'll eliminate all that stuff. So I just want to go over that with you guys for a little bit, but we're going to get the sand of this thing down and get it blocked down and get it ready for the customer. He's going to be coming here in about 3 days to pick this thing up. So I just wanted to show you guys what it looks like with the clear on it, because I think it looks awesome, besides all the dirt and stuff that's in it. But other than that, it's going to be sharp. I don't really remember what clear the other painter is using, but he does restorations as far as like muscle cars. So his work is really, really high in quality. So when this thing gets, you know, cleared, wet sand and buffed, it's going to be slick. I can't wait to see it, but I won't see it until, you know, you guys see it. I don't think I'll ever see it again until it starts rolling out to shows, if I catch it, or if I invite him to come to where I'm at and show it. So yeah, I just want to show you guys that. I want to get the sand of this thing. When you are getting a custom paint job, this is what you're really getting. And if your painter is not doing all this for you, then you don't have the right guy doing your stuff. Like I said, what you're paying for mainly is labor. You know, trying to get all this stuff smooth is no joke. And I think that's one thing about this industry that is taken for granted, is the labor end of it. I don't think people realize just how much time is involved and doing something this simple. And the result of taking your time and doing this, I just don't think people grasp it, because it's really overlooked in my area. Anything with graphics on it, unless it's like a $100,000 build car or something like that, or outrageously priced paint job, or like a Riddler Award car, because we got some of those around here. As far as hot rods go, is, you know, the finished quality of everything, not let alone the artwork part of it. I mean, the artwork part of it is just one stage of all this, and that's one thing I kind of want to, you know, teach people, and especially customers, because I don't think they understand what exactly they're getting when you're going through these steps. They just see the end product of it. And that's one thing why I kind of started this channel, is to show everybody not only just what I'm doing on the channel and, you know, my way of doing it, but actually showing, you know, people, whether you're a painter yourself, or maybe you're going to be a customer and you want to know what is all involved. This is kind of like an educational thing for customers and people that want to learn as well. So, you know, I just want to kind of express that, because it is one thing that is very overlooked in this industry. You know, this stuff is no joke, because, you know, as you look at it, it's totally like I mean, it's flat. I'm taking my time blocking everything down. Obviously, I'm just staying where I need to stay. But, you know, when this stuff is finally cleared with the final clear, and then sanded down, blocked, and buffed again, you know, it's just going to be crazy good. And that's kind of what I shoot for on everything I do. And you know, a lot of people don't have the, you know, the extra money to spend on, you know, things like this, the little details, because I do charge by the hour. But I try to help everybody out. Every customer I have, you know, I try to help them out as much as I can with doing this, because I know it's not cheap. It's very labor intensive. And, you know, if you're not willing to give the guy or the girl their time needed to pull something like this off, then, to be honest with you don't need to be investing and doing this to your car. Or, you know, maybe you got like a project you want to do this, something like this, to do graphics, or, you know, a custom paint job on them. If you're not willing to give the painter their time they're needed, and willing to let them, you know, use products that kind of result in the quality and the time they spend on it, then don't even try to get into it, because it's, you know, I hate to say that and kind of deter people away from doing something automotive wise, but when you're coming, you know, when you get down to the nitty gritty of it, it's all time. So you got to be willing to give, you know, the person working on your stuff time. And if you don't do this stuff for a living, then, you know, do your due diligence and research. There's the internet is out there, and all of the information's out there. Do your research before you just jump into it, because you're probably going to be blown away by the hours involved in something like this, and the work, and what you're going to be having to pay to get it done. You know, like I said, I didn't paint this thing originally, and I know what the guy spent on this, just the bodywork and paint it, and the other guy had it for over 1.5 years, almost 2 years, is what he told me. And, you know, the amount of money and time that he put into this is just, it's crazy. But, you know, when it's done and it's rolling down the road, you know, the customer is going to be super thrilled, because it's going to be something, it's not, you know, you won't see this anywhere else. This will be a one of a kind, and not only is it going to be a one of a kind, it's going to be, you know, deadheads that see this thing are just going to be blown away by it going down the road. You know, he might get offers on it to sell it. I don't know. He said he's not going to sell it. This is his dream build. ever since he was a kid, so I couldn't imagine him selling it. But, you know, it's just one of those things, like, people are going to see it. It's going to be one of a kind. And it's just going to be, you know, it's going to get noticed, you know, especially we're in here in this shop. The lighting in my shop isn't that great, even though I've got lighting everywhere. But you get this thing out on a summer day, you know, the blue itself, the original blue that was painted on this vehicle, this van, it looked amazing out there in the sunlight. It's got a little bit of pearl, you know, it's got aluminum in it, a little bit of not flake, just, you know, metallics in it. It's a very standard base coat job, but it blings, it flashes. So all the candy work that I did around this thing, the silver, you know, all that stuff's going to tie into this, and it's just going to be, it's going to shine, like, it's going to be awesome. And I've been trying to relay that kind of information to the customer, because he can't really tell, you know, every time he's came and looked at this thing, he wasn't really catching what I was throwing at him as far as what it's going to look like outside versus what it looks like in my shop. And it's going to be, he's going to be blown away, you know. As long as the other guy does what he says he's going to do, and the quality that's going to come out, it's going to be a showstopper pretty much. I mean, is it a perfect vehicle? No, it's not going to win like the Riddler Award or anything like that. This guy's going to drive this thing. He's going to take it to shows. He's going to do whatever he wants to with it when it's all said and done. So, you know, it's not perfect by no means, but it's just going to be one of those vehicles when you see it and be like, man, that's a nice van. So, yeah, just take your time. Allow people to have time with what they're needing to get done with whatever you're wanting to get done. And, you know, the quality will speak for itself. And make sure you do your research on where you want to take your stuff to and the people working on it, because you just don't want anybody to do this. Even though this is a very simple thing I'm doing right now, and blocking all these lines down to get it flat. In my head, I have to understand how much material I put in that area, because if I burn through it, it's game over. I got to restart pretty much and touch up things. So you still have to know what you're doing when you're doing something this simple. So it takes a lot of talent, a lot of skill, a lot of knowledge, let alone, you know, like I said, the skill. It takes a lot of knowledge to do this stuff. So just don't give anybody your vehicles, especially if you're going to be spending a ton of money on them and a lot of time or a lot of years getting them, you know, built the way you need to want them built, because you want somebody that's going to take care of it and knows what they're doing and make it last. That's what's going to make it last for a long time. This vehicle will last probably longer than the guy. As long as he takes care of it, this vehicle will last probably longer than his kid's life. So, yeah, I just want to kind of tell you guys that before I end this video and show you guys a little bit of block sanding. That way you guys can see, you know, just how flat this stuff's going to be. It's going to be pretty cool. So I can't wait to see it when it's done. And I will see you guys on the next video. Till then, take care. I'll see you guys on the next one.